they said to me as I was getting out of the car, "Hey, I'll pick you up again." Hey guys, it's Hope. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to tell a very interesting story about my very unsafe Uber experience. So this happened probably a couple of years ago. I have just finished watching a movie with all my friends. We were just hanging out and doing stuff and doing life, and I need to get an Uber home. So I get on the app, I order the Uber home, and I tell them that I'm bringing a guide dog and everything, and they're cool with it, which is very rare, but they are cool with it. And so they pull up, I get in the car, give them everything that they need, and we start driving home. And while we are on our way home, the driver starts to have a conversation with me. So he starts asking me for my age, and when I don't give him my age, he starts guessing my age. So he's like, I don't know, maybe this range and whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't know. And so we kind of shut down that conversation a little bit. And then he was like, so are you single? And at that point I was. So I was like, yes, I'm single. And he was like, oh, well, you know, you need to pick a very nice guy. And he was just trying to tell me all of this information and trying to give me like tips for dating and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a little weird. And then he was talking about how like it's very important to, you know, pick a nice guy and to make sure that the guy is like good and stuff and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And so I'm like, you know what? Safest option right now is for me to try to divert this conversation into other directions. So I was like, oh, you know, how long have you been driving for Uber? And he answers that question, and then he goes back to trying to give me more relationship advice. And I'm like, okay. And then I decide, okay, well, here's a crazy fact that I can bring up, and we can probably just talk about that the rest of the drive home. I was like, oh, well, I went skydiving a couple of months ago. And he was like, oh, really? And we start talking about that, and I'm like, okay, great, we're on clear territory. This is all good. And then they start going back into the relationship thing again, and they also start trying to guess my age again. And at this point, I'm very much debating whether I should get out of the car or not. But instead, I don't. I keep looking at the route, and I just kind of start not answering. I kind of start being more and more silent. And eventually, the driver kind of notices my silence, and so they shift gears. They're like, oh, what do you like to cook? So I tell them, you know, I like to cook a lot of pasta, I like to cook rice and all kinds of stuff. And I was starting to tell them about the meals that I make, like tikka masala and spaghetti and Alfredo and all kinds of cool stuff. And they pause for a minute, and then they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll come over to your house and you can cook for me sometime. And I'm just floored. I'm like, what? You said what? And so I'm just like at this point waiting to get home because I am thoroughly uncomfortable in this car. And I was a couple of times looking at the little thing that says like call Uber safety now. There is an option to automatically put in an emergency call to, I believe it's Uber safety and 911. And I thought about it because I was very concerned at this point. And so we keep driving, and finally we make it home, which I'm very grateful for. So I am like getting out of the car, getting my dog out of the car. And as I'm getting out of the car, the Uber driver ends the conversation on this note that I will never forget. And that's when I made the decision, I am reporting this driver to Uber safety. They said to me as I was getting out of the car, hey, I'll pick you up again. And I was like, oh, no, absolutely not. And so I walk back into my building, and I am honestly scared to go back out that night because I was honestly a little bit worried that the driver would just wait for me. And so I think I waited for several hours before going back outside again. And then the next day I called Uber Safety. I let them know what happened. And they were like, oh, we're so sorry to hear that. We're going to refund your trip. We're going to make sure that you never get that driver again. That's really uncomfortable. So sorry. And I was so grateful for Uber Safety's help, their customer service and everything. And so I learned a lot that day. I learned that there is a feature while you are in an Uber. If you feel unsafe, you can call 911 immediately. You can also call Uber Safety immediately. And when Uber picks up the phone, they will ask you if you feel safe at the moment. Like, they'll make sure that you're not in an actual situation before having a conversation with you. And then they are very nice. They will make sure that you don't get picked up by that Uber driver again, and they'll make sure that everything is good, and refund your money and everything. That's my kind of unsafe Uber story. It was a pretty quick story this week, but I thought that it was really important to share, and I thought that it was important to share just some, tips and tricks for Uber while trying to stay safe. There is an option to add a PIN. And so that way, when you get into an Uber, you can give the driver their PIN. They can't start the trip until you give that PIN and it's confirmed and correct. That way, you know that you are in the right car. Another added bonus is that if you are checking the license plate every single time, if the license plates don't match, don't get in the car. So just things like that can be really a safety thing to make sure that you're checking those. And then also just making sure that you're sharing your information with people that you trust so that they know where you're going and how long it's going to take for you to get home or get there or whatever. And then there is that option to call Uber Safety. There is that option to have 911 if you need it. And yeah. But most Ubers, I would say, are pretty safe. It's just every now and then you get a really interesting story, and I thought I would share mine. So I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you did, like, share, subscribe, do all the fun things, comment. If you have any interesting Uber stories, I'd love to hear them in the comment section, or any other tips and tricks for taking Uber or Lyft or anything else safely. And I hope that you all get to spend plenty of time with your friends and your family, and that you all enjoy this summer. And I will see you all in the next video. Until then, have a great day. Bye, guys.